Today on The Young and the Restless, Nate confronts Audra, Abby worries about Kyle, and Billy looks to stop Diane. At the Abbott house, Jack is on the phone with Ashley when Diane comes downstairs. After disconnecting, he explains that Ashley and Tucker are on their honeymoon in Paris, and any plans to start a competing company are on hold. Diane scoffs, "You believe that?" She thinks Tucker can be very persuasive. Jack believes their war with Ashley may finally be over. Unfortunately, there's another one on the horizon. He complains that Billy is a powder keg who thinks everything he says and does is an attack on him. It was a mistake to put him in as their Trojan horse. Diane asks what they think his endgame is. Jack says he wants to run Jabat. He'll need her by his side if this goes as he thinks. If Billy continues down this path, he may have to let him go, and he'll need her to step up. Diane doesn't think it will come to that, but if it does happen, Kyle should come back to Jabat where he belongs. Jack says that at least they know Kyle will always want to protect his mom. At the Chancellor estate, Abby guesses Billy's not there to see Dominic and asks, "What's up?" She updates him that Ashley and Tucker are on their honeymoon, and they've put the battle with Jack behind them. Billy's not worried about Ashley. He's worried about Diane. He's afraid Ashley was right all along and Jack's new wife is going to be a danger to Jabat. Billy's sure that Diane will manipulate Jack into giving her a high-ranking position at Jabat, and Jabat will suffer because of it. He confides that the post-nuptial agreement Diane crafted addressed Jabat in a clever and perfectly vague way. She could walk away with a huge chunk of it, and it all depends on her getting a seat on the board. He's put together a proposal that would keep her from joining the board for 10 years and needs her support. Abby thinks he should take a step back, but Billy insists that Jack's thrown common sense out of the window. Diane could start gunning for higher positions at the company, including mine. Billy asks Abby if she really thinks for a second Diane won't do anything she can to undermine anyone who poses a threat to her. Abby divulges that she saved her mother's life at Society. Billy's glad she was there to do that, but it doesn't prove she's a danger to Jabat or his brother. Abby asks if he's trying to pick up where her mother left off. Billy is simply asking her to come to his side to protect Jabat from Diane's influence and power if she decides to take it too far. Abby tells him she's sorry, but he'll have to count her out. At Society, Nate and Audra toast surviving Victor's corporate landmine. Audra complains that she got demoted and had to do some serious tap dancing with Nikki to stay off the unemployment line. Nate wonders if the tap dancing had to do with Kyle Abbott. He asks, "Does Nikki know what's going on with you and Kyle outside of the boardroom?" Audra says she definitely knows and gave her a choice, Kyle or her job. She won't jeopardize her career over a fling. Nate is glad to hear it. She needs to focus on protecting her position at Newman and preparing for whatever vindictive move Adam is planning. Audra's not intimidated by Adam, who has nothing. How much of a threat could he really be? Nate urges her to hold onto that confidence and not to risk it all by playing around in the sheets with Kyle Abbott. Audra flashes to her and Kyle deciding to sneak around. She muses to Nate, "Kyle who?" At the ranch, Nikki thanks Kyle for coming. She's not ready to talk about Newman Media but would like to address him and what the hell he's doing with his life. She declares she knows about his affair or whatever he's calling it with Audra Charles. Nikki's sure it's a fun and easy way to deflect from the pain of his breakup, and to deflect from the pain Summer is feeling because of him. "You know how protective I am of my granddaughter." She told Audra she would have to end the affair immediately if she wanted to keep working at Newman. Kyle assures Nikki that it worked and then flashes to having sex with Audra earlier. Nikki muses, "Now about your future at Newman Media." Kyle guesses she has an ultimatum for him too. Nikki says it's more of a plea, "Don't give up on Summer and your marriage. Find a way to work it out with your wife." Kyle tells Nikki that Summer destroyed any hope of trust between them. He recaps her choosing Phyllis over their marriage. How is that fixable? Kyle invites Nikki to fire him if she must, but he won't change his mind. "I can't." Nikki knows better than to force the issue. Kyle thanks her and asks where that leaves him at Newman Media. Nikki says Audra's impressed with his work but warns if there is a hint of unprofessional behavior between them she will axe them both. Kyle assures her that Audra broke things off and asks where he fits in. Nikki will have to figure out where to put his skills to the best use. She knows it was Kyle's decision to leave Jabut and not Jack's, and has to wonder if he has the same self-destructive tendencies as Victor's son. Kyle asks if she's comparing him to Adam. At Society, Audra asks if Nate is afraid Nick will turn Victoria against him. He replies, not at all. They share something very special. It's possible Nick won't even take the job. Audra warns him to count on the fact that once Nick comes back, things aren't going to go as smoothly as he's letting himself believe. In the park, Abby asks Kyle how he's doing with the whole shakeup at Newman. Kyle puts on a happy face, but Abby thinks he's masking pain over his marriage. Kyle's sick of hearing this. He tells her the split hurt, but now he's good. He's free and doesn't have to answer to anyone but himself. It feels good and he likes it, got it? Abby lectures Kyle about avoiding the pain, which will eventually explode. Kyle assures her that's not what he's doing. They're young and he's looking forward to devouring the world. Abby says it's overrated. Kyle kisses her and says, see ya, cuz. At Jabut, Jack warns Billy not to come looking for another fight. He's sick over the conflict and suspicion. He wants to keep the situation from escalating. Billy says that's why he's there. He asks Diane to give him some time with his brother alone. Jack fumes that Diane is free to stay, but she elects to go. Billy shuts the door and tells Jack that if he wants to fix this, they need to get the board to put in stipulations about what Diane can and cannot do. Jack replies, how dare you? Billy goes over the vague language about the company in the post-nuptial agreement. The smart thing to do is put stipulations in place. Jack is insulted. Billy argues it's smart business, but Jack trusts her business acumen every bit as much as her heart. Billy complains that he doesn't trust him, and you never have. At Society, Nate wants Audra to promise she'll behave when it comes to Kyle. He went out on a limb for her, and he's in too good of a place to have her make him look bad. Nikki walks in and overhears. Audra explains that he was just urging her to keep putting her best foot forward. Nikki remarks on all the time they spend together when they're not even working in the same division. Just then, Audra gets a text from Kyle asking her to meet him in the park. He wants to buy his boss a lemonade. She smiles. Nikki asks, good news? Audra says it was an inside joke from a friend. She announces she has to get back to work and leaves. Nate watches her with suspicion. At Jabut, Jack tells Billy that 1 month ago they were working together to protect Diane from Ashley. Now he's against her. Billy corrects that they were working together to protect the company, which he is still doing. Jack would realize that if he would open his eyes. Billy walks out and spots Diane in the hall. She feels like she traded one enemy for another. Billy says he's not her enemy, but he has an issue with her position at Jabut. Diane says that's not fair. Billy knows she'll want more input and power, and Jack will give her whatever she wants. There's only one person who will do whatever's necessary to protect his father's company, and you're looking at him. Audra arrives in the park, looks around, and texts Kyle that she's waiting for her lemonade. Nate appears and watches from behind a pillar. In crimson lights, Billy walks up to Kyle, who says he doesn't look happy. Billy tells him that Ashley has declared a ceasefire. Kyle hopes that means that she and Tucker will leave his mother alone. Billy snarks, sure. Kyle asks, come on, Billy. What's this really about? Billy says he and Jack are having a few issues on the executive side of things. Kyle wonders if they have to do with his mother and warns him not to mess with her. Billy flashes to arguing with Jack about Diane and Tucker. He then recalls his last conversation with Lily about Diane bringing mayhem and him being the right person to run Jabut. He thinks about her warning him against making a power grab and then walks out. At Jabut, Diane walks into the office as Jack gets a call from Abby about Kyle. I fear that he's headed down a troubled path. In the park, Kyle canoodles with Audra as he hands her the lemonade. She reminds him this is risky and asks about his meeting with Nikki. Kyle says she's keeping him at Newman but doesn't have a position for him yet. Audra assures him he's not going anywhere. Kyle teases, as long as we behave ourselves. Just then, he gets a call from his father asking him to stop by the house to talk. Kyle says he'll be there shortly and disconnects. Once Kyle walks away, Nate steps out and tells Audra, I had a feeling you were lying to me. What's worse though, you're lying to Nikki Newman and you're playing with fire.